Hello everyone, I am Fayza Ananda as the fifth speaker. Here I will present one question of my choice which discuss graph functions and models topic that more specifically discuss about more and functions. The question is, graph the function estimate the open intervals on which the function is an increasing and decreasing and any relative maxima or minima of fx equals to 2x squared minus 4x minus 3. But before I explain more about the explanation of the question, it would be better if we know the following terms even though we have learned them while sitting in junior high school. Increasing, decreasing, relative maxima, and relative minima. A function is increasing when the y value increases as the x value increases like this. When x1 less than x2, then fx1 less than of fx2. A function is decreasing if the y value decreases as the x value increases. When x1 less than x2, then fx1 less than of fx2. Relative minimum is decreasing to the left of C and increasing the right C. A relative minimum occurs as a low point on the graph. Relative maximum is increasing to the left of C and decreasing to the right of C. A relative maximum occurs at a high point on the graph. After knowing the meaning of these terms, let's solve the problem. Stay tuned. The question is, graph the function estimate the open intervals on which the function is increasing and decreasing and any relative maxima or minima of fx equals to 2x squared minus 4x minus 3. The first thing we should recognize here is that we have a polynomial function, or more specifically a quadratic function, and therefore the domain for this function will be all real numbers. So let's go ahead and sketch a number line that would show the domain of this function. So we would have from negative infinity all the way to the positive infinity. Now, let's go ahead and graph the function. Here I use graphing calculator to make sure the graph is right at the point. This is what the online graphing calculator looks like. First, we select the function menu, then add function and write down the equation we want to find of fx equals to 2x squared minus 4x minus 3. And select the plot graph and this is what the graph of fx equals to 2x squared minus 4x minus 3 equality looks like. By analyzing the graph, we should see that it decreases in this interval, then we have low point and the function start to increase. Because we have low point here, we have a relative minimum. Let's go ahead and find that first. Because we want to identify the minimum point of relative minimum, then we have to shift the point to the right. So the point 1, negative 5 represents the relative minimum. And then notice to the left of that point the function is decreasing and to the right it is increasing. Let's go ahead and write this information down. The relative minimum occurs at the point 1, negative 5. Some texts like to identify the relative minimum as an ordered pair, but remember that x coordinate is the location and the y coordinate is actually the minimum value. So we could give the same information by saying that at x equals to 1 and the relative minimum y equals to -5. Now, since we know that the function changes from decreasing in increasing and x equals to 1, we're going to go ahead and use that point to help us determine the interval for which the function is increasing or decreasing. So a positive 1 will make an open circle because the question asks for the open interval. So let's go back and look at the graph again. To the left of 1, the function in decreasing, and to the right of positive 1, the function in increasing. So it's decreasing on this interval and increasing on this interval. So we can conclude that decreasing on the interval from negative infinity 0.1 and it's increasing of 1 point positive infinity. So if we grab the domain of the function, then plot the location of any relative extrema on the graph of the domain, it will help us determine the intervals for which the function is increasing and decreasing. The end of the word from me. Try, and keep on trying is the rule that must be followed to become an expert in anything. Thank you for the attention.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First, I wanted to thankful for the opportunities that given to me. I'm Jumadila Purnama, and I wanna ask to Fayza about the more explanations, specifically about the definition of relative minimum and relative maximum. And if you may, I also wanna ask about its relations to the questions that you explained before. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question from Jumadila. Relative extrema occur where a function changes from increasing to decreasing or decreasing to increasing. So the function will have a relative minimum. If you look at the picture, the function changes from decreasing to increasing and x equals to c. And the function will have a relative maximum. If you look at the picture, the function changes from increasing to decreasing and x equals to c. So we have a relative minimum at low point on the graph and we have a relative maximum at high point on the graph. So the relation with the question of relative minimum is, if you look at the picture, the graph moves from decreasing to increasing. This is same as the definition of relative minimum. And because we use the graph calculator and we want to determine a low point, we must shift up to the midpoint. So this conclusion is, this function has a relative minimum and the relative minimum equals to -5. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Nurul Khaerani Syahid from Group 1 and I want to ask to Fayza Ananda. So, Fayza, can you explain why you took this question as a topic of the discussion about more and function? I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Actually, many questions that can represent the topic about more and function, but that makes me to choose this question because many of us are still confused to determine the function is decreasing or increasing or both, and how to determine the high point and low point. So this occasion, I hope my explanation in this video make us can understand better about when the function is decreasing or increasing, and about the relative extrema, which is the relative minimum and the relative maximum. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everybody, I am Sadaria. As speaker 6, I will explain the exercise the number 38, namely if x is equal to x quadratic minus 2x plus 2 and gx is equal to x plus 1. Specify the value of x if g dot if x is equal to 2. Well, I will explain how it works. The solution. We know that g dot if x is equal to g bracket if x is equal to 2. After that, a reading with the variable of x replaced by x plus 1. So we find x quadratic minus 2x plus 2 plus 1 is equal to 2. After that, sign of the kind to form quadratic equation. So we find x quadratic minus 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. After that, find the root using the factorization. So we find x minus 1 multiply x minus 1 is equal to 0. And then we find the value of x is 1. I think that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity that has been given to me. Before, my name is Fadlia Zahra from Group 5. I have question for Sadaria. My question is, from the problem, whether the value of x is single. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. It is good question. Well, I will try to explain about that. Actually, the value of x is not always single, but sometimes the value of x it has more than one value that satisfies. For example, 2, 3, and so on. Because what? Because the value of x depends on the equation. For example, g dot if x is equal to 6. Now equation becomes x quadratic minus 2x plus 1 plus 2 is equal to 6. After that, sum the same kind until we obtain equation x quadratic minus 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. After that, find the value of x using the factorization like this. X minus 3 multiply x plus 1 is equal to 0. Now we obtain the value of x. X is equal to 3 or x is equal to minus 1. So proven that value of x is not always single. I think that's all. So thank you very much.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the chance that has given to me. I am Nurul Khaerani from Group 1. 1 and I want to ask my friend Sadaria. So, my question is, what is the value of x if we substitute x by x plus 2? Thank you.